soul changed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. Transformed utterly. A terrible beauty is born. Easter 1916 by William Butler Yeats. Pile the bodies high, shovel them under and let me work. I am the grass. I cover all. Grass by Carl Sandburg.
Days of Future Ravaged Lands is the title of the second Antumbra album, and also this is the second Antumbra review that we have on this channel, and this particular one will be done in English. It's the second review because for the first review that we had on this channel, the review for the previous album entitled Oblivion, we managed to reach the commercial milestone of 500 views. And the necessary numbers here to make a second material for a band being 500 views for a review and 1000 views for an interview. So if these numbers are reached, 1k for the interview and at least 1k for an interview and at least 500 visualizations for a review, then we can have a second review and a second interview for one and the same band. And it will be done in English because the more modern approach preferred by the band on this particular release lends itself, I would say, or I would think, lends itself better to the international market, where there is a greater openness to such sounds, to such modern sounds, than it is the case in Romania, which is the musicians' native country. And of course, Romania is, as we know it very well, a highly conservative country with a highly conservative audience, and there were a lot of discussions: is Antumbra underground enough, or is it already mainstream? And in this regard, I can tell you that if we are talking about the underground in the logic of having some sacred values, some sacred expressions which needs some sort of a very violent outburst or a very violent way of manifesting themselves, those kind of things being very personal and as I said, very savage, of course they cannot lend themselves to the mainstream. And if that is the case for protecting the underground, I can fully understand and support that, but if, as it is also the case, some people use the underground as a means to protect their comfort zone, then that is really not something that should be encouraged. So my message here regarding discussions, this is underground enough, this is not underground enough, is please try not to use the term underground, or try not to abuse the term underground as an excuse for your comfort zone. Genre-wise, Days of Future Ravaged Lands can be labeled as blackened dark metal. Blackened dark metal containing the much needed centerfold rhythmic sections to solidify the songs. And by centerfold rhythmic sections, I mean here centerfold denotes, as I think you already know, those two middle pages of a magazine, often taken up by a single illustration or a poster or something like that. So this latest release from Antumbra contains the necessary or the much needed centerfold rhythmic sections that are there to solidify the songs, and it also contains haunting atmospheric intermissions, and it is able to bring forward or to bring into effect a decent amount of effects and elegant time signatures drawn, I would say, from the musicians' satanic zeal, românește in Romanian, zel satanic, effects which spice up the music without taking the attention of the listener away from the aggression, which is actually a great musical punctuation system and a great musical syntactic backbone from syntax every time when that happens. So again, to know how to use effects to spice up the music, but to spice up the music with atmospheric effects without taking the listener's attention away from the aggressive structures of the music, is something that has to do with punctuation system using music and with the syntactic backbones used in music. And if this kind of recipe works, then it's great whenever it happens. Now, as we are already talking about Antumbra's second release, second album, the previous one being entitled Oblivion and released in 2023, and this one, Days of Future Ravaged Lands, was released in 2024, in December, I think. As we are talking about Antumbra's second release, I think we can already draw, or we can already outline some general strong suits and high calibers that this music has to offer, and the main such point is the readability of the music of Antumbra, the readability of the artistic act in here, meaning this is a very readable music, or to say it in Romanian, avem de-a face cu o muzică cu un grad accentuat de lizibilitate sau cu o muzică foarte ușor de citit. And not just a very readable music, but also a music that uses vigorous, concise and highly understandable musical writing. Absolutely no unnecessary words or passages, pretty much like drawing with no unnecessary lines, or like a machine with no unnecessary and superfluous spare parts or gadgets. So this one is an album with strong outlines and with perfectly logical and prevailing downtimes. An album within which every word and every lead, guitar lead, tells something to the listener. An album on which nothing is indistinguishable and nothing gets washed out and nothing is expandable in any way. Even more interesting is the fact that although, or despite the fact that the album works excellently with imperceptible shifters and with subtle and elegant touches, Despite these imperceptible shifters and subtle and elegant touches, the album still manages to convey a beautiful and exquisite sense of emergency, war-filled like emergency. And it does so, as I said, with some very readable sound silhouettes and with clear and tasteful atmosphere builders. Sometimes these atmosphere builders are taken from doom metal, other times from death metal, and other times from psychedelic quarters, or at least the album is willing and capable to work with sequences drawn with a psychedelic compass. Now, to further add a few words to the readable quality of the album, I would use Paula Larocque's words, and I would say that this music is the perfect opposite of octopus writing, where this octopus writing convey or denotes a convoluted and crowded with tiresome layers style of writing music. You know, all those layers being added on top of other layers and layers on top of layers on top of layers, which for the listener may eventually turn into a tiresome experience. So Days of Future Ravaged Lands manages to use simple layers, crystal clear and beautiful sound layers, and they kind of lead the listener on a beautiful road by grace of their simplicity and mirror-like or crystal clear-like quality of the sound. So you don't need to make it very complicated and induce some sort of tiredness in the listener when you can make it simple and beautiful. And this one is the case in here. It's about simple, beautiful, natural, and crystal clear musical layers. And now, coming back to what I said, that Days of Future Ravaged Lands is the very opposite of octopus writing. Paula Larocque said this kind of words because to an octopus the function of the ink is not to reveal anything but to obscure everything. But here on Days of Future Ravaged Lands, the ink reveals some beautifully natural soundscapes and some very beautiful musical flows with, not flaws, but flows. I say this because the songs nicely melt into one another. But although the songs melt nicely into one another, they do it every time with a different kind of chemistry. So the chemistry is different for each and every song, although they also possess this quality of nicely melting into each other, the songs I mean. And this particular fact happens because the musician, Marius Ignatescu in this case, knows exactly how to dig that dark vibe with which he works and how to up his game, how to use time subdivisions in order to make the drums sound much warmer, and how to subtly overplay to a certain degree some passages whenever he wants to, let's say, mark an emotional climax. So yes, Marius Ignatescu knows how to overplay some passages in order to outline or to mark an emotional climax, or in order to highlight some sort of a bright or reflective area in his musical design, in his musical painting, or in his musical general picture. Now, feeling-wise, okay, we established genre-wise and methodological-wise value. We talked genre-wise or we talked concept-wise, but feeling-wise, this whole music seems to be about that very special moment when the soul returns to the body. This is how I felt the whole essence of the Antumbra music, as trying to capture that special moment when one's soul returns into his body, and what happens when the soul returns into the body. He captures, as I said, this special moment of a soul returning into its body, and he does it with some sort of an electric jelly quality, or the music is capable to give some sort of an electric jelly quality to this whole experience of a soul coming back into its body. Interesting enough, this album, Days of Future Ravaged Lands, was declared by the national television here in Romania as, based on the viewers' votes, Romania's best rock and metal album for 2024, thus overrunning a bunch of legendary other Romanian bands in the musician's native country, which is Romania. And I'm not going to say that I agree or I disagree with this surprising first position, but most definitely this thing that it managed to reach the first place on the audience of the Romanian national television can be interpreted as a barometer of attention. So this most definitely means that there is some real attention that this musical project enjoys among Romanian listeners, and this could be due to the fact that the portrayal of war and destruction, somehow similar to the portrayal of war and destruction enacted by two other Romanian bands, such as In Sepultur's Deadly Gleams of Blood, Steel and Fire, and Din Umbră with the album Finality, also two recent releases. Somehow this kind of a portrayal of war and destruction, somehow this portrayal manages to capture in positive and friendly notes the iron law within the iron law of the human senses, when the human senses are faced with obscure, deep and possessed outbreaks of evil. In Romanian, again, albumul reușește să capteze foarte bine sau să redea foarte bine acea lege de fier din interiorul legii de fier care apare atunci când simțurile umane se confruntă cu izbucniri obscure, profunde și posedate ale răului. And by the way, this cover that you see in my hand is also pretty similar to Din Umbră's cover for the album Finality. Of course, not as execution or not as artistic specificity, but is similar as message. Coming back to the idea, the first place gained by Antumbra among the viewers of the Romanian national television may also have to do with the fact that the musician here is capable of providing lightning fast backbones for his music, such as it happens on the song Ode to Chaos, which is the best song on the whole album. So the musician is capable of providing lightning fast backbones for his music, and he's able to do so within some already catchy enough and memorable enough melodic inventions, edgy melodic inventions to be more specific, and not only within some catchy enough and memorable enough already present edgy melodic inventions, but also within some already present highly suggestive poetic identifications. Catchy and memorable enough edgy, I underline the word edgy, melodic inventions, and by inventions I mean original passages, and also highly suggestive poetic identifications for which Marius Ignatescu is capable of solidifying these kind of structures with lightning fast backbones on the rhythmic section. I mean, let's say the black metal rhythmic section. That's why I call the release Blackened dark metal. And also very, very important is the fact that the resonances that this album emanates or gives off, this kind of resonances lead towards rehabilitation and atonement, and these kind of resonances also fulfill the landscapes and help the listener's instinct acquire its positive functions. To say it in Romanian as well, un lucru sau un aspect foarte important este acela că rezonanțele care abundă pe acest album conduc întotdeauna înspre regăsire. Tot aceste rezonanțe sunt acelea care împlinesc peisajele și tot aceste rezonanțe sunt acelea care ajută instinctul ascultătorului să-și însușească funcțiile pozitive ale structurilor sale instinctuale. Days of Future Ravaged Lands by Antumbra is an album which initially it was supposed to be called Forest of the Forgotten, if I have the correct information, but which ended up being called, as you can see in here, Days of Future Ravaged Lands. And Days of Future Ravaged Lands is an album capable to use all the languages that are available to it, because Marius Ignatescu speaks on different languages and uses the visual languages and the written words and the musical languages in many ways. So it is an album capable to use all the languages that are available to it, and also to make a lot of explicit and hidden or subversive languages usable. An album capable to work with emotional ideas, and an album capable to, I would say, to piece together passages that have some stormy but at the same time also carrying connective value to them. So yeah, an album capable to piece together passages that have a simultaneously stormy and carrying connective value naturally attached to themselves. So, Days of Future Ravaged Lands by Antumbra is an album that will surely deepen your connection to dark metal, as it knows how to, as this particular one, it is an album which knows how to celebrate the joy of creating music, how to display in a vivid manner the struggles of learning on the side of the musicians, and also how to display in a vivid manner the triumphs of self-expressions. So that's why I'm saying that Days of Future Ravaged Lands will most surely strike a solid chord with you. Take care.
Could you take a moment to like this video and subscribe? It costs you nothing but makes a huge difference on our end. Done? Awesome. Thank you so much.